So whether it's AI or industry trends, it has a different impact depending on the industry nuances. Every industry has its own risks and challenges, and today we are here to just talk about that. Let me just quickly talk about some of the trends that we see are shaping how providers are going to be managing the contracts, doing the delivery in a changing geopolitical scenario. So AI-driven vendor consolidation, I think that's a common trend now. A lot of enterprise clients, they are moving from multi-vendor sourcing to AI-native capabilities. So providers are also shifting towards pure staff augmentation to building specialized capability pods. Then every geography has their own mandate in terms of sovereign AI, which is pushing vendors to, in a complicated infrastructure landscape where there's a lot of duplication that needs to happen. A lot of models need to be trained locally now. So again, the idea is to partner with local AI infra providers so that you can manage the margins as well as stay compliant. Then, of course, enterprises are willing to pay a premium to providers who can absorb, manage, and ensure risks when it comes to AI and cybersecurity. So a lot of risk as a service offerings, the contracts are changing. So it embeds a lot of risk offerings and then providing guarantees or providing solutions in terms of AI explainability. Then the talent pool, of course, India, Philippines, all these regions, they stay to be the biggest hubs. But in terms of, the changing political scenario, visa restrictions, talent nationalism, it is restricting, limiting the flexibility in terms of global delivery model. So the nearshore options, they are fragmenting. Then the AI, energy, and sustainability spend, a lot of enterprise see this as a blind spot in their P&L line items. So this is more to do with managing the AI energy spend. So providers who are able to do that are going to win on sustainability plus cost grounds. So moving on to the panelists today, we have Naresh Lachmandas, Shabnum Grewal, and Madhu Kaushik, each of them specializing in specific industries: aerospace, defense, healthcare, travel and transportation, and logistics. So would love to get their viewpoints and inputs. Naresh, maybe starting with you. Which of those trends do you resonate with when it comes to aerospace and defense?
So from a trend perspective, I think A&D as a company, from a product standpoint, they're very high-end, leverage these technologies. I cannot talk about it because a lot of top-secret stuff out there. However, in the internal operations, they're a little behind schedule because of compliance rules and regulations. They want to make sure the data is protected. And then as we are talking about AI, and we talk about data storage, all that stuff, got to make sure that the data is protected, it's segregated, prevented from the bad guys from getting to it. So from a provider standpoint, what expectation is, how do you help them overcome that challenge? They definitely need to leverage these technologies to drive efficiencies in their operation. However, in a secured manner. So that's going to be, and they've been very risk averse going to the cloud. So now how do we help them maybe in a private cloud in that sense? But that's definitely an area for consideration as we move forward.
So data protection and governance is the key for aerospace defense. How about you, Shabnum?
For me, I think healthcare is a highly regulated industry. So again, a lot of those trends that you had identified apply to them. So short answer.
Yeah, for regulated industries, of course, data governance, protection, security risks, they come, first. How about logistics? Is it a similar trend in travel and logistics?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chandrika. So in travel, transportation, logistics, I think cybersecurity, most of the airports, national carriers, ports, the freights, the class 1 freights, they are all considered increasingly as critical infrastructure. So cybersecurity has become a key topic, and we are talking about regulatory compliance in all the things, and especially this has been one of the key concerns in some of our stakeholders when adopting AI, right? That has been, they are on the edge, hesitant to adopt AI because of some of these constraints, and that is where I think you all here should help them overcome those concerns, fears in terms of adopting AI. As I said, so cybersecurity and regulatory compliance does play a huge role because of the classification as critical infrastructure.
So all these industries, as I was mentioning earlier, they have certain nuances. So where does the real edge really lie in building new models, from scratch, or is it more in terms of how we govern or fine-tune them?
So from an aerospace defense perspective, there's a commercial side, the defense side. So it really comes down to their focus on driving the costs down. These disruptions are impacting their margins. And leveraging large language models is important, like in MRO and some of the other areas. However, and supply chain as well. But you kind of have to understand the framework and try to find ways to learn from it and then scale it down into a small language model. Now, definitely on the SLM side, I'm sorry. The option of leveraging OT and building on that space because it's secured in their domain is going to be important as well. But definitely, it's all about cost optimization because the LLMs will tend to drive the cost out through the roof. And how do we help them manage that in a secured way?
I can go next. In travel transportation, so let's think of this AI solution in two parts, right? So one is the operational AI solutions where AI is embedded within core applications, and there are generic AI solutions, So if you look at the operational AI, for instance, so think about airports like, predictive maintenance embedded within baggage systems or airport maintenance, or in airlines it could be crew scheduling or dynamic pricing. Freight, it could be route planning, things like that. And there's also already a lot of AI use cases that we are seeing built where there are integrating OT, cameras, sensors, things like that. And AI helping maintenance and making everything safe, right, in travel transportation. So I think that there we are already seeing a lot of progress being made. These are all operational core applications. On the generic AI side, I see that there is conversational AI, multilingual support, passenger experience, and things like that. And again, a lot of use cases being built. What I would say is that where the service provider industry and the community is at a big advantage here, in my opinion, is that and some of the people like Shobit, Akshay, and all kind of made this point earlier, but you all have a lot of experience working with these clients, industries for decades together now. You're sitting on a ton of data. That is already there with you, right? And this is all client data. You know the industry much better than the technology players, and you know the challenges because you are working on the ground day in, day out with the same people. So you understand the challenges better, you have the data better. It's not about the model at the end of the day, at least as far as I see in travel transportation. It's all about how you have a pre-built, trained AI data set that can be deployed for a very specific client use case that is industry-trained data, right, and not generic data. So that is where I think the service provider community can really make a difference compared to the generic AI models. So it's not about recreating the wheel here. I believe it is about, like, if you think of a wheel, it's not, you are basically customizing the wheel for the weather rather than reinventing how the wheel is looking like, right? So that's what we need to make sure that we are not making a big thing out of this. It's, of course, a solution, a platform, but the data is what is going to drive the answers for the client problems.
I want to add to what Madhu just talked about. So one of the trends we're observing as well is definitely the IT-OT integration that's out there, but also the OT management. So to his point that if you're in that client space, how do you help them now expand that footprint? Because think of it asset management within IT, but now expanding that footprint out there, helping them manage that better and drive their costs and maintain their uptimes as well. So definitely an opportunity to expand.
I think great points. If you look at in healthcare where AI has already made an impact, radiology and imaging, hospital administration and operations, remote patient monitoring. So some of the generic LLMs can be used, but I think they do need some specific data to be able to, customize for those services. I think in all this, it is very, very important to understand the kind of data that you use, what is the source of the data, how you're collecting the data, are you doing regular audits to ensure that the quality is up to standard, etc. So I think those are the kind of things that are really, really important when you start using, using something on top of your generic LLMs to be able to customize it for your requirements.
Right. So AI use in safety critical sectors, it really raises some thorny issues of governance, compliance, financial accountability as well. So how do you see the contracts need to be framed, to talk about these risks and how they evolve and not just track AI outcomes in terms of productivity or revenue generation, but also the use of AI in terms of cost and also the ethical liabilities that come along?
So I can take that first. I think the traditional contracting structure will no longer apply. Those were more relevant to human-to-human interactions or human-to-machine interactions. Now that AI has come in place, we'll have to start thinking about how that will operate. I think one of the things that you may need in a contract is something called the duty to monitor, that the vendor will not be just responsible to deliver an AI engine or an AI tool. The vendor will have to make sure that they continuously monitor it to be able to, so that it is delivering the value that was promised initially. And then for that, I think it is very important that there is a baseline established when a tool is deployed. You know exactly where you are at that point in time, what your expectations are. And if there is any misalignment, then it should be the responsibility. So there should be a clause which says that the vendor will have to come back and retrain the model or do some fixing to that problem. It could also be, and then there would also be the element of who bears the cost if the AI is not delivering the value. So that is very important. Then, of course, the continuous establishing a cohesive governance framework to ensure that the data because it's not static, right? You have to continuously train it. So where are you sourcing the data from? Like the point that I had brought up earlier. The ethical considerations, that there is no bias in it. There are regular audits that happen at regular intervals to make sure that your AI engine is delivering what it should be.
Yeah, so in terms of sustainability, right, and this is a big topic in travel transportation. Say, for example, fuel, right? So fuel is probably the biggest cost driver for, let's say, airlines, right? And what we are seeing as part of some of the responsibility that new contracts are taking is in terms of measuring those business outcomes that are more sustainable oriented outcomes rather than just the revenue or operational efficiency related outcomes, right? So we are seeing new metrics being introduced in terms of, hey, what is my wait time in an airport or fuel efficiency in an airline. It could be in terms of, hey, how many cracks did I find on a track in freights, right? So things like that. So and these are real use cases that we have already seen being implemented, and this is where I think shifting towards more of how the clients are looking at servicing their customers from a sustainability point of view, ethical point of view, and bringing those contract structures in place, which can ensure that they are delivering to their end users and not just to satisfy the IT-oriented goals of the clients is very important. And we are seeing that shift happening. It's not as fast as we should have seen it, but we are slowly seeing the turn there where obviously there are different classes of customers, right? So some are very new to outsourcing, some are already really experienced, mature. The mature ones are progressing faster, but I'm seeing more of the first-gen outsourcers are also leapfrogging. They are not going through the traditional model anymore. They are leapfrogging into the new ways of contracting with vendors. So I think that is an opportunity where I would like to see the service provider community actually proactively suggest some of these things to be included in the contract, and rather not be like hesitant to commit to some of these outcomes of what the clients are looking to give as an outcome to their end users.
So Madhu, I hope you can help air traffic control get the flights to take off at land in time as well. Okay. So I don't want to build on, they've said a lot on that front, but I'd like to throw something out there as we're talking about AI from a governance standpoint. You talked about accountability and the value prop. The key is complete transparency in how things are done. Now, and being a former CIO, AI is again a transformational tool. And we always did proof of concepts, which is all great, but how do you now expand that footprint? So going back to what Shobit talked about earlier about really looking at the enterprise to see how mature they are in that front. So yes, you can do a proof of concept and deliver something, but how do you now expand that footprint beyond? And that's where I think as partners, as you're working with your clients, bring that equation to the table to help them there, but also be very transparent in how you're delivering that, because that's going to be really key, and they hold you accountable to that, and that helps build that foundation as well.
Yeah. So in previous presentation, we heard a lot about how clients are not jumping the gun, they're still stuck in the POC stage, experimentation, and so on. So my question to you, the final question is, AI is emerging as a boardroom priority in terms of revenue growth, productivity, efficiency, and so on. So in your industry, is it smarter to invest now, despite the uncertainty over, which AI model will prevail, or to wait for clarity and maybe, risk losing the momentum?
So from a defense standpoint, and I've talked about this, they really need to focus on driving change. And that's what they're all trying to engage on leveraging this technology. The question, how to do it in a secure manner and take it forward. So talked to several board members on that front, and they are driving this change at that level down. How to get the value out, how to prioritize without governance and accountability and transparency, but they definitely are looking to drive that change. And now it's up to the CTOs and CIOs and everybody underneath there to make this happen. But this is going to be critical moving forward.
In healthcare, I think it was yesterday. They shouldn't be waiting any longer, especially where there is so much pressure on reducing cost and becoming more efficient. Don't think it's the time to wait and wonder and try to see let me see if the other provider is doing better than me, and then and just live by their example or whatever. So I think they need to start working on their data part. They need to start working on another very important of the impact of change of AI is change. You have to be prepared for change, right? So they have to start investing in change management. And I feel that if the healthcare providers or even payers, if they haven't started now, they need to definitely start collecting data and maybe not try to do it themselves. Use service providers like the ones sitting in this room, that they can make a huge impact. So I think it's, the bottom line, it's not the time to wait anymore. Wait and watch, no.
I mean, travel and transportation, they have always been kind of pioneers in getting the AI use case. And a lot of our clients we see in this industry, they have already adopted AI in their core operational applications as well as the Gen AI part of it, right? So what I would say is that, hey, we are already there. We have crossed that, hey, should we invest or not? Like, that ship has sailed, right? So, and there's no more that question in at least this industry. The question is like, with all this thing being implemented, and Shobit talked about it a bit, all this thing being implemented, how is it traced back to, have we done an assessment, an impact assessment of showing the impact of the AI initiatives on business, on revenue, on cost efficiencies? That is where we need to start we all together need to educate some of our client stakeholders that, hey, AI is actually delivering real impact, and this is the time to double down and not wait and watch, right? So I think making sure that impact assessment is done periodically, capturing the outcome and results is a key part.
I just want to add one more comment. So we talked about the global disruption, supply chain, et cetera. One of the big impacts to all manufacturing, also aerospace defense, is the raw material, the products, the parts you're bringing in. Those costs are going up. And everybody's trying to figure out, how do I now maintain my margin? So leveraging these technologies, transforming is going to be critical. That's what the board members are pushing. How do we drive this cost down in different ways to maintain our margins? So that's, to your point, that's a sense of urgency that's we're observing across several large aerospace defense companies. Now, still a little conservative on making the decision, but they're all trying to drive in that space.
And I think you can, by choosing to act now, you can shape the face of the industry.
Yeah.
You can be a pioneer in this space. So I think it's very important.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you to the audience as well. In case you have any follow-up questions, we'll be around.
Thank you.
Thank you.